Alright, so I got this in the boat. I didn't really record us walking down the steps. We were just fumbling with it. It's pretty heavy. Just didn't want to drop it, really. Um, Either way, so we got this in the boat. I cleaned it up a little bit. This is just the engine. Over there is my generator. Um, so what I'm doing at the moment is I took the starter off pretty much when I was pulling this off. I wanted to make sure there was nothing attaching it like a flywheel or anything. I didn't know if it was just a shaft. I wasn't quite sure, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't destroying anything. And it's just bolted on. That being said, I have to put the starter on, and I was going to clean up all the leads. Like this one's cleaned up right now, but some of the other ones aren't really clean. I'm going to clean up the leads, clean up some more stuff, and then try and get this thing started. I want to make sure it runs. I've looked inside of here, like for example, looks really good in there, pretty much brand new. So other than that, like I said, it looks good, but I want to make sure it runs good as well before I heave this thing down into its final resting spot, which will be actually underneath this floor. And believe me, that's going to be fun getting it down in there, but let's get this thing going. Alright, I got the starter on. I was time-lapsing it for some reason. I don't know how I didn't pick it up, but so I got it on. I'm gonna pull the box apart, and I'm gonna time-lapse me pulling the box apart and kind of get all the electronics off and use it to kind of control the engine, start it, and see what I get. Alright, so I moved this in here. I'm about to start pulling it apart. This is the actual generator part and the interface for kind of your controls for the engine, the harness, and everything else. So I'm gonna pull it apart just so it's easier to work with and see what I'm looking at, and I'm gonna go back to the time lapse. Alright, so I got this harness off of the generator portion. I'm going to kind of put this aside for now. I'm going to clean it up and clean all the plates that I took off, repaint it, and make it nice looking. But for now, this is going to go aside. And I'm going to use this to try to start the engine. Alright, so as you've seen, I got the harness hooked up. I went and grabbed me a brand new battery. I'm going to probably use this battery as like a dedicated starting battery for this generator. That way I pretty much have a spare battery and it has its own redundant system. But that being said, everything's apart. These are just fuel lines back here. This is pretty much a control board, ECU. I went ahead and I ran my own grounds and I ran some of my own wiring because when I got this generator, I don't know if I mean, I'm sure I said it in the video, sometime I spent $900 for this whole thing, so it didn't have certain portions, it didn't have the hookups for the battery and stuff like that, so I kind of went and hooked it up myself, and I'm about to test it because, as I said, I'm going to try and get this thing running. Alright, I got my wiring cleaned up. Battery's hooked up. I got it set up pretty much how it's going to be. Aside for a few wires, I do got to hook up one ground wire, but at the moment, this is how it's pretty much going to be. I do want to make sure this thing runs. As I said before, I put it in the bay, and I have the harness all attached now. I actually have never ran this generator. I bought it for $900. Believe me, I didn't know if it was going to run. Like I said, it didn't have all the parts when I bought it. So that being said, this is kind of like the first time I'm hearing it crank over anything. I have everything wired up properly. I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to auto and manual start it. Manually starts, the starter works, cranks over, sounds good with compression. The interface works to shut it back off. Sounds like a winner at the moment. Play with that more. I actually got to plummet some fuel. This is a return line actually, but I got to plummet some more fuel. Make sure it runs. This, I got to, do something with the intake. I have tape over it at the moment. But yeah, it runs pretty good actually. Alright, so I've gotten the wiring cleaned up mostly. Just two leads on the battery, an on-off switch, and the panel does everything else. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure it runs, start it here on camera. None of the accessories are hooked up, so I won't run it for long. But just make sure it runs. I have this funnel attached to some fuel line, and that's what's providing it some fuel. And that's pretty much it for now. Just runs. Alright, I'm about to pull this all apart. I'm going to pull this top panel off. Kind of clean some of this wiring up, mainly so that this can fit where I want to put it. I don't think it'll fit with this, so I'm going to kind of redo how the wiring goes and maybe relocate the panel that was up here and all the wiring to the side. Well, that's it for this video. Overall, I'm glad the generator started, getting the housing prepped for paint, and on the next video, I'll show you some of the wiring we're getting into to install the generator and possibly installing the generator. Thanks for watching. See you next time.